Before we begin, take a second and subscribe to the channel. Because the story you're about to hear isn't just about love, or marriage, or even betrayal. It's about the quiet moments where everything breaks. And how sometimes, the words we think give us power end up destroying the very thing we were trying to control. I can still picture his face. Not anger. Not pain. Not shock. Just emptiness. Like something inside him shut off the moment he finished reading my message. Like I had finally given him permission to stop caring. Back then, I didn't understand what I'd done. Now, sitting alone in my overpriced studio apartment in Pacific Beach, listening to college kids laugh on balconies, music thumping through thin walls, red wine sweating in a cheap glass, I understand everything. That text wasn't a warning. It wasn't a boundary. It wasn't strength. It was a goodbye. A 5-word goodbye that took less than 10 seconds to type. And erased 8 years of marriage. No more intimacy. Deal with it. 5 words. Typed with entitlement. Sent with arrogance. Signed by a version of myself who thought love was leverage. I sent it while sitting at my best friend Jasmine's kitchen counter. The room glowing warm under expensive pendant lights. A bottle of wine already half empty between us. I remember the buzz in my head, not just from alcohol, but from righteousness. That dangerous feeling that convinces you you're finally standing up for yourself. Even when you're actually lighting a match. Send it, Jasmine said, refilling my glass without asking. He needs to know you're serious. Men like Trevor only respond to strength. Strength. That's what I thought it was. I believed I was reclaiming power in a marriage that had become predictable. Routine. Safe in a way I'd started to resent. I imagined Trevor panicking. Begging. Promising to change. I imagined him suddenly becoming the man I had convinced myself I deserved. I was wrong about everything. Trevor and I met at a wedding in La Jolla, one of those absurdly perfect San Diego weddings that looks like it was designed for Instagram before the guests even arrived. Sunset ceremony. Ocean cliffs. String lights. A budget that probably cost more than my first car. He wasn't the most attractive man there. That honor belonged to the bride's brother, tall, tan, charming. The one I flirted with during cocktail hour just to remind myself I still could. But Trevor was the one who noticed I'd been holding the same warm glass of champagne for over an hour, and quietly brought me a fresh one without making a show of it. He was the one who made me laugh so hard during the ridiculous chicken dance that I forgot to care how I looked. He was the one who walked me to my car at the end of the night, hands shoved into his pockets, smiling nervously as he asked for my number like it actually mattered to him. That smile made my stomach flip. The early days felt like a checklist of everything love was supposed to be. He remembered how I took my coffee. Oat milk latte. Extra shot. He noticed when I changed my hair. Never mocked me for crying at dog food commercials. And when he looked at me, it felt like the rest of the room blurred out. Like I was chosen. We dated for 2 years before he proposed. No fireworks. No flasmav. Just us sitting on a blanket at Sunset Cliffs, sharing In-N-Out burgers, watching the sun sink into the Pacific. I want to do this forever, he said quietly, gesturing at the ocean, the sky, us. Then he pulled out a ring. Simple. Perfect. I said yes before he finished asking. Strangers applauded. I cried. I thought that moment meant security forever. The first 3 years were genuinely good. We bought a house in North Park. Adopted a rescue dog named Biscuit. Hosted dinner parties on our deck while friends joked about how nauseatingly in love we were. Trevor supported my career in pharmaceutical sales without resentment. Late nights. Conferences. Travel. He never complained. I'd come home exhausted. And he'd already have fish tacos waiting. Rub my feet while I complained about doctors and office politics. But somewhere around year 4, my attention shifted. Not to what Trevor was doing wrong, but to what he wasn't. He wasn't climbing the corporate ladder fast enough. Wasn't spontaneous enough. Wasn't exciting enough. Other men suddenly became reference points. Colleagues with bigger titles. Gym guys with perfect bodies. Husbands who surprised their wives with weekend trips and Instagram moments. Trevor was steady. Content. Happy. And somehow, that started to feel like a flaw. He's gotten comfortable. I complained to Jasmine one night over drinks. He's gained weight. Wears the same clothes. Happy being mid-level forever. Men get lazy after marriage, she agreed easily. I didn't see the warning sign. I mistook her bitterness for wisdom. You need to shake things up, she said. Make him work for it again. So I did. Slowly. Strategically. I stopped initiating affection. Claimed I was tired. Scheduled girls' nights during our time. When Trevor complimented me, I dismissed it. You have to say that, I'd reply. You're my husband. I watched the confusion flicker across his face and ignored it. By the time I sent that text, I thought I was playing a game I controlled. I didn't realize Trevor had already stopped playing. And I didn't understand the most important truth of all. When you weaponize love, you don't weaken the other person. By the time I realized something was wrong, it wasn't because Trevor had changed. It was because I had. I didn't wake up one day and decide to destroy my marriage. That's not how it happens. It happens in inches. In excuses. In quiet comparisons you don't admit out loud. Trevor was still the same man. Still woke up early to surf the same breaks in Mission Beach. Still grilled on weekends. Still smiled when Biscuit curled against his legs on the couch. But I had started seeing him through a different lens. One distorted by envy, boredom, and the constant whisper of you could do better. Every normal moment became evidence against him. He wanted to stay in and watch a movie? Rightero boring. He suggested our usual lake house vacation? Rightero predictable. He brought flowers home from the grocery store? Rightero low effort. And the worst part? I didn't say these things out loud to him. I said them to Jasmine. You teach them how to live without you. Jasmine had always been bold, loud, magnetic in a way that made you feel braver just standing next to her. She was also twice divorced. At the time, I thought that made her experienced. Now I know it made her dangerous. She'd recently left her second husband, a biotech executive who traded her in for his 23-year-old assistant. She walked away with a massive settlement and a bitterness she wore like perfume. She moved from her mansion in Rancho Santa Fe into a luxury high-rise downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Harbor views. A condo that looked successful and felt hollow. She filled the emptiness with wine, Botox, and opinions. Trevor is holding you back, she'd say over $15 cocktails at rooftop bars. This is San Diego. Look around. Men with money everywhere. Why settle? And slowly, terrifyingly, I started believing her. I started measuring Trevor against men who weren't my husband. Doctors at Scripps who drove Teslas. Venture capitalists at conferences. Surfers with perfect tans and no responsibilities. I flirted. Nothing physical. Not yet, but emotionally, I was already gone. I built an entire fantasy life in my head. In those fantasies, men looked at me like I was rare again. Desired. Chosen. The night I sent the text started like any other work event. The U.S. Grant Hotel. Soft lighting. Champagne glasses clinking. A new doctor, young, attractive, confident, spent most of the evening talking to me, complimenting me, laughing at my jokes. He drove a Porsche, lived in La Jolla. He asked for my number. And for the first time, I didn't immediately shut it down. When I got home, Trevor was asleep on the couch. Board shorts. Old SDSU t-shirt. Biscuit curled into his side. The TV was paused on some documentary about marine life. It should have felt comforting. Instead, it felt suffocating. The contrast between the fantasy I'd just tasted and the reality waiting for me felt unbearable. So I left. I drove straight to Jasmine's downtown condo, my heart racing like I was doing something brave instead of reckless. She opened a bottle of expensive wine, part of her divorce spoils, and listened as I unloaded every resentment I'd rehearsed for months. Trevor was boring. Trevor didn't make me feel desired. Trevor was wasting my youth. Jasmine listened with a smile that should have scared me. You know what you need to do, she said. Take control. What if he leaves? I asked, a flicker of fear breaking through. She laughed. Men like Trevor don't leave. They just try harder. That was the lie I needed. 3 glasses of wine later, I typed the message. She watched over my shoulder. Encouraged me. Told me I was strong. No more intimacy. Deal with it. I hit send. And every time Trevor reached for me, I pulled away just enough to remind myself I still had control. That I drove home expecting chaos, anger, questions, a fight. Instead, Trevor was in the kitchen making a sandwich. Calm. Quiet. Did you get my message? I asked. He looked at me. Really looked. And something was gone. Yeah, he said. I got it. That was it. No argument. No begging. Just acceptance. And somehow, that terrified me more than rage ever could. That night, I slept in the guest room, telling myself I was making a point. In reality, I was unsettled. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Over the next few days, Trevor became a ghost in our own house. Not cold. Not angry. Just absent. He stopped asking about my day. Stopped suggesting hikes or dinners. Stopped reaching for me in bed. He followed my instruction like a rulebook. But then something unexpected happened. He started waking up at 5 a.m., surfing before work, cycling up Mount Soledad, joining a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym. Within weeks, the man I'd labeled comfortable was changing. Lean, focused, quietly confident. When I told Jasmine, she waved it off. He's sulking. He'll come crawling back. But he didn't. Instead, he joined a gym, started meal prepping, volunteered for a new tech project in Sorrento Valley. When we crossed paths, he was polite, distant, like a courteous stranger who happened to share my house. And suddenly, I felt the power slipping. That I tried to get his attention. Wore bikinis around the house in October. Cooked his favorite meals. Suggested old spots. He smiled politely. Made excuses. Left early for the gym. I thought you wanted space, he said one night. I'm just dealing with it like you asked. The words cut deeper than any argument. Still, Jasmine told me to hold firm. So I doubled down. More nights out. More social media posts. More carefully cropped photos that looked like dates. I acted like I was living my best life. Trevor didn't react. And that's when I should have known. When he stayed late at work, it wasn't avoidance. He was preparing. When he became distant, it wasn't punishment. It was detachment. When he stopped trying to win me back, it was because he had already decided he deserved better.